Welcome to I Heart Geek. And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. We are talking about children's shows that ruined our lives. Yeah, let's be honest.
Really say they ruined our lives, though.
This is totally a clickbait title. I mean, we love children's shows, but there's a lot of yucky stuff that went on in the background.
You just killed Skeeter.
Okay. I'm Dub. I'm here with Courtney, and I'm here with Satomi. I'm here with Skeeter. How are you guys doing? I've missed you all so much. Oh, wow.
He lies. He sees me all the time.
Oh, God.
Skeeter, are we going to get back in the car and drive around again like last week?
Oh, we might need to right now.
Oh, it's so good, though.
We love children's shows.
We do.
We love them.
That sounds so creepy. Oh my gosh, you made it so bad.
You did.
No. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I like children's shows. Some.
That's because you're a big kid.
Yeah, I am.
Aren't we all?
Okay,
True.
I take that back. I don't like anything that came after, say, 95-ish.
So you're a grumpy kid.
There's some really bad children's shows out there too. We could do an episode on the really bad ones.
Oh, I'm going to mention at least one. Oopa. I just made like 20,000 parents just like scream and shut their computer off when I said that. Oh, they're the worst. Anyway, today's show is brought to you. Today's show is brought to you by Subversive Humor.
Subversive humor?
Subversive.
They're underwater.
Subversive. That was well. There's some of these that might not be a bad thing.
Oh, do you guys remember Water Babies?
No, I remember a toy.
It was a British animated. I can't remember if it was. I want to say it was a movie where kids go underwater and they can breathe, and there's like other critters down there. And
I remember the snort.
Oh,
the snorks
come along with the snorks.
Oh,
Wow!
And I did it. Yes, and the snorks were just like bad Smurfs.
Right, they were just a Smurfs ripoff.
They were the Smurfs with more girls.
Yes, more girls.
It was kind of nice. Okay.
Yeah, because Smurfette. I mean,
Smurfette got around.
Yeah.
Well, she was originally not a real Smurf. Gargamel made her just for not for saying nothing.
Okay, so we're gonna make it even weirder now.
Wait. So Gargamel essentially was making a Yoko to mess up the boy band.
Wow.
Or something.
That's amazing. And she wasn't originally a Smurf. She was like a little white girl, a little blonde white girl. And then I think Papa Smurf made her a Smurfette.
Okay, like
I forgot about that.
Wow, this is like the ultimate rabbit trail.
The
channel's not changing. Fast forward. It's getting weird.
Okay, real quick.
Getting weird.
If you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit like, and share this with, just, let's be honest, all your friends. You're sitting through it. Your friends deserve to sit through this.
Friends are gonna like it too.
Yeah.
This is one of those things.
Strap them down.
Go to our Patreon. We have cool new stuff. Go to our website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the com. We paid extra for it.
We got merch.
And then go to shop. See, there's tons of shirts.
I love it.
There's all sorts of colors.
We got merch.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see.
That one. I'm getting that one.
I love this
so
one.
Good.
That's my favorite one. We got V-necks. We got tank tops. We got all sorts of stuff. Yeah. You don't know what the war that me and Courtney had to get this going. We're happy. Yes, not really.
Like the bread and butter war, it wasn't really that bad.
No. We literally threw bread and butter at each other.
We did.
Okay.
Sounds like a good time. Anyhow.
So what we're discussing with children's shows today, the kind of the parameters, just stuff that we absolutely loved and still stick with us to this day. We're going to hit a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff and the weird theory stuff. Like we're going to get into Rugrats. Yes, everyone knows that theory. We're going to get into some Rugrats.
I don't, so I look forward to being enlightened.
Oh my gosh, you're going to hate Rugrats.
I hate it. Stand Rugrats. I could not stand
it.
Really?
You won't care.
I hated it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into it. I got to pace myself. So
focus.
I'm trying. But no, well, what I find is hilarious with this conversation we're having, I mean, 2 minutes in, we're already just rabbit trailing on Smurfs, on this obscure storyline that no one in the world knows, and we're all just like, and Smurfette and this and that, and it's why, and we're all old. Why does this stick with us so much? Why do these shows stick with us literally for the rest of our lives? I thought this would go away by the time I was a teenager. It didn't. I'm still...
Well, I think a big thing with Smurfs and a big thing with a lot of those shows is the music. So when you're talking, well, not only that, but the underscoring was classical music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the third movement of Moonlight Sonata was the Gargamel chase theme, for goodness sake. So, you're talking. Yes, it was.
Huh.
Yes, it was. Third movement of Moonlight. So, I mean, and it's just riddled with amazing classical music, which, I mean, let's face it, is so enduring, and it does something amazing to our brains. Like, if you want your brain to feel good, just hang out and listen to some classical music for a while, and all of a sudden you just feel smart.
Yeah, and honestly, and that's not even, the Bugs Bunny's the very obvious one, but you go out of the Bugs Bunny realm, and all of these did that. I mean, like the superhero stuff, they had really bad 70s jazz, and it you know what I'm talking about. Bow, bow, as Spider-Man's.
I was in the Justice League one.
They're all terrible.
Or Super Friends. I don't know.
Most of the outside of the superhero realm, they all did have that amazing, just really robust
score.
I mean, full orchestrations.
Yeah, I will say that even the cheesy ones, those strike a chord and remember too. Because for example, when we see the cage of Gleek in that crossover episode of The Flash for Crisis on Infinite Earths, they played the Super Friends music in the background, and everybody that grew up with Super Friends went, I know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even Blythe, who is a fetus compared to the rest of us, went, what is that? Because we were watching together. He's like, is that it? I'm like, yes, Super Friends.
And it's amazing that he knew it because he's such a Marvel super geek.
He likes the TV shows, though. He will admit that.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
So, well, now that we have rabbit trailed off so much, and we're going to keep doing that. But I'm going to ask you guys this: what is your definition of what makes a memorable children's show that still sticks with you all these years later? I know Satomi said the music thing, but
probably
I think there's more than that, because it's the storylines. I mean, some of these storylines, when you watch them now, are kind of silly, but I think when you watch them back when you were a kid, they were really deep for the time.
Something that I noticed while I was researching this subject, that something that kept popping up for me is the ones that stick with me are the ones that didn't treat kids like children.
Yeah. They
treated us like we were smart, we were capable of understanding complex concepts. Nothing was dumbed down. It was funny, and there was a childlike innocence to it, but nothing was stupid, which is why there's so many shows right now that bug the insert guitar out of me, because it's like, kids are not dumb. They are not dumb. They are so smart. Stop dumbing it down for them, because when you dumb it down for the kids, you're going to end up with dumb adults.
Hail time.
Well, a great example of that.
Got a letter.
But a great example of what you're talking about is Doctor Who. That's a children's show. As much as we all like to think, it's sophisticated television, it's a kids show. It's Monster of the Week and with rubber masks. I mean, it was made for kids, and they'd never dumbed it down, and that's why we all still love it. Harry Potter. That's why, we're 60-year-old guys will still love Harry Potter, because it's not dumbed down, but it's made for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, well, at the beginning, for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
At the beginning, early.
Yeah.
Get a little scary later.
Well, because you grew
as
with
it.
The story progressed. Exactly, you grew with it.
And I think that's another thing that makes it memorable is, when shows grow with you a little bit. Yeah. And that's hard to do.
Yeah.
I think I take what did we rush home from school to watch? Like, That's
Power
how I
Rangers.
look at it. So I literally, Dub, we're on the same wavelength, right? So Power Rangers is on TV. We're rushing
Power
home
Rangers.
because Power Rangers is on, or G1 Transformers, or G.I. Joe, or something like that, because that afternoon demographic of cartoons was nailed. But what do we remember what do we remember the most? Like, what sticks in our brain? I can't remember a specific episode of Transformers G1.
No.
But I remember Butterfly in the Sky.
Yes.
I can go twice as high.
Right? And the book and LeVar Burton's voice reading that book. I'm sorry. Like, I will never forget that for my entire life. Like,
I know
that's what stuck with me.
I know people who can still recite the preamble to the Constitution because of Schoolhouse Rock.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh, brilliant.
Saturday mornings, all day.
Sitting on Capitol Hill.
Yes. Conjunction, junction.
Oh, we're getting sued everywhere. This is awesome.
The cheese wheel guy, like, teaching kids how to eat, like, eat your carrots. Why? They're gross. No. Have you tried them yet? Nope. Try them, Don't knock it before you try it.
Yeah.
One that I remember is the teeny little super guy.
Oh, yeah.
From Sesame Street.
Yeah.
In terms of music, teeny little super guy pops right up before your eyes. Yeah. Why I remember that? Do I remember what I think he was a salt shaker. That's pretty much all I think.
I think that PBS had it nailed better than anybody else.
Huge.
Yes.
They did
anybody
else.
Yeah.
I learned to read earlier than kindergarten for one reason, and that was Electric Company. Because I wanted to know what was in Spider-Man's thought bubbles. Because they didn't read it to you. You didn't know what was going on. I took the time to learn to read. I said, I want to learn what he's saying. That's a big deal, guys. That is still so entertaining. Who was that? Denzel?
Mr. Rogers.
It was
Mr. Rogers.
It was
Sesame Street.
Captain Kangaroo.
Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman started on Electric Company.
Yeah, no, it was just... But the PBS, I think, had it nailed better than anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to say they kind of created the infotainment genre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they hit some hard, like, I mean, just go to Sesame Street. Sesame Street hit some crazy stuff, right? Like Snuffleupagus, okay?
Yes.
Who didn't have an imaginary friend?
Yeah.
Right?
And then they made him real. And then they made him real for a good reason. For a good reason.
See, but I understand what the good reason was, but it made me so mad when they did it.
Yep.
It made me so mad when they did it.
And then you had all of the different things. And then the one thing that I said on the text last night, the thing that will forever be burned into my memory of that show was Bird, like, going to see Mr. Hooper, and Mr. Hooper wasn't there anymore.
Like, we all learned about death and grief and sadness, though, from Big Bird. Yeah. It's like how Big Bird handled it was how we handled it. I also remember the episode that Mr. Rogers was on.
Yeah. And how many, I mean, like, the things that if you close your eyes right now and think about Big Bird sleeping, like with his head tucked in and this little feather, like, oh my gosh. Like, that's what it did. That's what those things, those little things in each show that made us that you call back to, and it just takes you to a place where things weren't really so bad. Even though in my life during that time, stuff was horrible. I think about those times, and those are the times that got me through. And I think that's why these kids shows, were so important to me.
Yeah. You're talking about stuff like Sesame Workshop that they've become now.
Yeah.
They are literally teaching kids how to deal with real life situations. And they're continuing to develop that content. I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, they're working internationally to help kids who are in refugee camps be able to process what they're going through by using these parallel puppets that can go through that's put into a language that they can digest. Gosh, we got really serious here, but it's just like you were saying, Peter. It's so true. It just teaches you life lessons without realizing, you're being taught.
And I'll tell you something else that's really important, especially with like the Jim Henson Network, is if you watch some of the outtakes that they never release, but you can find them now, and they have the puppets talking. And I think this was important to it. They said the dirtiest, most horrific crap to each other coming out of these puppets. I mean, stuff that I wouldn't say off air. I mean, just horrific. And you are howling, laughing. And then once they said action, they went right back into that role.
Right. You gotta get it out.
But I think that was important. I think that by keeping your adult mind, that helped to make these children's shows better, because you've upped the bar a little bit. Because just like us, we don't cuss on our show or anything else, but we get to say the same things. That's what they were doing. And I think that was an important factor to the show. I don't know if I'm wrong on that, but that's just kind of what I feel, is that really raised the bar as far as they were able to have a sense of humor, and if you watch these shows in the right mindset, like, wow, that's really bad.
If you spend your entire time with your hand up a puppet, you have to have a sense of humor.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
I mean,
if you haven't watched the Big Bird documentary, I don't remember what streaming service it was on, but there's a Big Bird documentary that chronicles the guy that played Big Bird for like ever and ever and ever. Like, he spent his entire life like this,
man.
Mm-hmm.
Like one arm up into the head of Big Bird, operating his mouth. Like, that's how he did the whole. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like,
he was not in it, was he just like this?
Yeah, he literally was like, like, oh, no way. But those are the kind of things, like, as we grow, like, even some of the things that came out about it, and I know we took like this serious turn, but like, even as we kind of, the transition, what people tried to do with Bert and Ernie, like,
oh, geez,
how they tried to, 21st century Bert and Ernie, like, really, can they not just be
Bert and Ernie? They're
Bert and Ernie.
They're roommates.
Like,
and
they're roommates. They're
and
like
no,
the odd
that
couple.
never entered anybody's mind when they were kids.
Ever.
Never.
And then suddenly we have to, and that's part of what's ruined the child's TV. And let's actually, I want to kind of segue on this. Now, that there was a time, and once Nickelodeon hit, this is when I think it happened. I think people started to try to be too clever with the children's television. So we can take, they had the tween children's shows. They had the Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy and Doug
Ren
and all that.
Stimpy was an adult
was
show.
never for
that was not.
It was
for
on
kids.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Wasn't it Nick at Night though? Wasn't
no,
it like
that was on Straight Up
later.
Nick?
Oh, it was.
It was.
Yeah, but
originally it was Straight Up.
Never intended to be a children's show. The same thing with Beavis and Butthead. Just because it's a cartoon doesn't mean it was meant to be a kid's show.
But
now, that's not saying kids didn't watch it, because I was 14 watching, getting in trouble watching Beavis and Butthead. But
I never thought that I would be enamored with an imaginary butt stinky. That thing was so cute.
But getting back into that, though, like let's take Rugrats, for instance, who I found out there's some thoughts here. Some people really didn't like Rugrats.
Conspiracy theory.
Now,
call it what it is.
I don't know I don't know how conspiracy it is, because some of the writers have said, yes, there is some things to this.
You can't trust writers. As a writer.
Okay.
You can't trust us. We lie all the time.
So the Rugrats.
We make stuff up for a living.
The Rugrats I believe they're all in Angelica's mind, if I'm not mistaken. Because Tommy.
I thought it was. What's the neurotic one that's sick all the time?
It could be in his mind. That's Chucky.
That's the one I heard that they're in his
mind. His mom died. And they said that in the show because they were trying to be clever. And I mean, he was neurotic and he had all these issues. And let's see, I think Tommy was a stillbirth, and that's why the dad's always in his basement making toys. And
it's real dark.
The twins were an abortion, and they didn't know if it was a boy or a girl, but Angela heard them talking about it, so she created them. So that's the writers have said.
They're all dead. The kids are all dead.
And this is the problem. This is the problem with the children's shows of the more modern era. They tried to be too clever on stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think any of that's real. I think
it is
being later on. I think it's pretty real. Along the lines with the Burtnery.
Maybe.
I mean, if they made it like some sort of like creepy thing, then I'd be down with that. Because,
that was pretty creepy.
My original top 5. I mean, you guys saw it. It was like, wow, she's got a dark streak.
So, after the PBS era, I think that things changed. What do you guys think about the different era? Because, like, I mean, we can talk Teletubbies, Pooh Bah, all that stuff, and it doesn't stick with kids. Yes, it's made for kids, but like like the stuff we were talking about, electric companies, Sesame Street, all that sticks with us our entire lives. You talk to a kid that's 13 years old and tell me about Teletubbies. I watched that when I was a kid, and there's no emotional connection.
There's actually almost a rebellion against it. Like
Barney was one like that. Yeah.
I don't know anybody who ever rebelled against Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers and was like, that's stupid. But I have I know so many kids who are like, oh, how could you stand it when I was watching Caillou, which actually is
the worst show ever. Oh, that kid is terrible.
Thank you, France.
Like this rebellion against the shows that are on now because they're just they're kind of insipid and just sort of,
Well, I think a lot of it goes back to what you were saying earlier, and it's not intelligently written for children. It's written for a age bracket, not for a kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a great way of putting it.
Blue's Clues, Roly Poly Oly, like those things, like Griffin, like my son when he was, never out of his hand. Like we have pictures for a whole 2-year section of his life. He never was without his handy dandy notebook and his crayon. And that was his thing. But it literally got him, the thing about that was it got him writing. It got him drawing shapes and using that handy dandy notebook for stuff. So that was great for that age group. But if you watch it today, it's like, oh, we've got a message. And dude whips out his handy dandy notebook is now a cell phone. And you're like, what just happened? And even Griffin freaked out. He's like, what?
Well, what? As I say, with the Sesame Street stuff, you can watch it and it is still completely and totally timeless.
Yeah.
They date the new ones, the new shows.
Yeah.
No, I flipped it on one day and it was, and literally within 5 minutes of flipping it on, I was in the kitchen and I hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm all, what the? And I ran into the living room and it was the pinball machine. It was the ball going. I was like, that's my child. That's it. Like, thank you for sticking to what you were for all these years.
Yeah.
I think Henson does that really well.
Yes.
Because I remember the Muppet Babies when we were kids.
Barbara
Billingsley. The nieces watch the Muppet Babies now.
Ugh.
It's a new Muppet Babies. But I've watched it with them. It follows the same rules that our Muppet Babies did. You have Miss Nanny. You have the adventure that they're going to go on. There's a new Muppet. There's a new Muppet Baby who's a penguin. And
there's no Scooter and Skeeter. Or no Scooter. One of the two.
There's Scooter. There's no Skeeter.
Yeah.
There's a Scooter. But the rest of the Muppets are all the same. And they all act like they did before. Piggy still acts like Piggy.
Yeah.
Although this is probably going to get me beat up, but the voice actor who does Miss Piggy, she needs to go practice some more. Because she don't sound nothing like Piggy. But so yes, it's different than the version we watched when we were kids, but it still holds that same quality and same timelessness. And the girls just they love it, but they're learning the same things
Yeah.
that we were learning. You know, they're learning about friendship, and they're learning about sharing, and they're learning about not lying, and you know, and
But let me ask you this
caring,
question.
all that stuff.
Let me ask you this question. Like, let's go back to the Bert and Ernie thing. Do they do the Bert and Ernie thing and try to modernize it, or do they keep
Bert
it
and Ernie's
innocent?
not in Muppet Babies.
No, I understand that. I'm not saying Bert and Ernie, but do they try to modernize it to that extent, or do they try to keep everything very innocent? Like,
are you talking in terms of the people
of the new Muppets,
of the new Muppets,
the new Muppet Babies?
What I'm asking you is, are you talking in terms of people saying that Bert and Ernie were gay?
Yeah, well, then it got pushed. That was something that was, I don't know. I don't think it has been pushed on Sesame Street itself.
No, it's never been confirmed by Sesame Street at all. So I mean, the actual show itself, that's just another one of those theories because they live together kind of thing. So I'm gonna say no because that hasn't happened on the actual episodes of Sesame Street. So it's not that kind of stuff is not happening.
I'm tiptoeing here, but I mean, y'all know
the Muppet Show either. So yeah, it's just the Muppet. It's essentially the Muppet Babies. It's computer generated animation now, as opposed to the hand drawn stuff that we had. And yes, there's slightly more modern takes on it. You know, like some of the stuff that Miss Nanny has. Like if she has a piece of equipment, it's a cell phone as opposed to a phone on the counter. Because who has a landline anymore? But I mean, it's still the same. It's still the same lessons presented in the same way.
Yeah.
And the girls, my nieces, just you could bring a marching band through the room playing 76 trombones and they would not notice because they're like, we're watching Muppet Babies, leave us alone. I'll be like, Carmen, what? Don't interrupt them when they're watching the Muppet Babies.
So let's move on to this kind of a third kind of scale of the children's TV shows, and that is children's TV that's made for kids, but definitely has a lot in it for adults. Let me throw this example out: SpongeBob SquarePants. Everything. My kids loved SpongeBob, and they did not catch any of the horrific jokes that are going on behind. They did such a fantastic job of doing that because they said, you know what, the parents have been watching the Teletubbies. They want to put their head through the TV. Let's give them a little bit of something. And the longer it went, the more obvious it got, which that's kind of when we stopped watching is with the kids. Like, oh. But what do you guys think about the kids show that gives stuff to the adults? I'll say this and I'll let you guys go. I'm 100% for it as long as a kid will never catch it.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, it's one of the reasons Pixar is so successful because you've got fans that are kids and then you got fans that are adults because they see different things in it and it changes as you change. You catch different things as you change. Or another great example, Animaniacs.
Fantastic. And you learn with Animaniacs.
Yes. Yes. United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Jamaica, Peru. So, I mean, phenomenal. You've got the learning, but then you've got like these jokes that are, oh my God, so inappropriate, but only because of the double entendre that a child would not catch.
Yeah.
And it's so subtle and it's so smart.
The new Animaniacs. Oh goodness. Like the first episode out of the box, they smash it. Like Yakko starts his song and they talk about reboots and lazy Hollywood writing and just, I mean,
hey, kids don't get that.
Crushing Hollywood. Like I'm all, how is this still a show right now? Because they just mash Hollywood. They mash Warner Brothers management, everything. And they're cool with it. I'm like, wow. Because, I mean, my wife and I, no kids in the house. Like, Griffin's not here. we start watching Animaniacs.
Dude, the kid's like, what, 23? You can't even say he's not in the house. He's not watching. You're not watching anything for him at this point.
Right. No, but I mean, like, honestly, the new Animaniacs, I don't know that there's a kid watching this show. I think it's straight up Hulu.
Nostalgia kids.
Nostalgia kids, but like adults are watching Animaniacs because of what's coming out of this. It's phenomenal how much it just appeals to the adult popular. Like, watch the first episode and it's just reels you in, and you're like, oh my god.
But I do have to say this: I don't want all the kids' TV shows being like that. I want a small section of kids' TV shows being like that. Yeah. I want to have maybe, if I still had small kids, I would want maybe 1 or 2 of those shows a day. And everything else I want to be, Sesame Street and Bert and Ernie. There might be a joke in there you might catch every now and again, but it's not.
We were watching, the girls made me watch Madagascar 3 or 2. I don't know. One of the Madagascar.
There's like 9,000 of them, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've never seen it before, and I'm like, okay, we'll watch. Because, part of being an aunt is you watch what the little girls want to watch. Yeah. So we start watching it, and it has that kind of stuff in it. Like, I'm dying because there's just this funny adult humor, and the oldest looks at me and she's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "You'll understand later. Just keep watching." But I mean, it's like it's in there. But in terms of that, I'm kind of surprised, Doug, that you haven't mentioned one of your favorites yet.
Which one?
Phineas and Ferb.
I'm looking at that right now.
Phineas
and that is another one of those that my kids loved way before I did. And my oldest at the time was like 15 or 16, and he loved it. He's like, "Dad, you need to watch this."
It's like Adventure Time. It's got some stuff in there. I had no idea about Avatar.
Oh, like so good.
Oh my gosh. Like we started watching it from the very beginning, and I'm like, what the heck are we watching? This is amazing. And I watched every episode of it. And then I watched Korra, and then it just kept going. I mean, that, and then the other day, what's the one with the Rick and Morty?
Oh, no, kids cannot watch. Kids do not watch Rick and Morty.
Like, I walked into my son's room, and I'm like, dude, what cartoon are you watching now? And I turn and watch it. I'm watching it for about 4 seconds, and all of a sudden it's just like beep, 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 beep. I'm like,
my brother made me watch the Pickle Rick episode.
Oh no,
because I've never seen it.
To me, I think Rick and Morty deserves their own episode, but that is so not what we're talking about. Because don't think
totally not.
No kid should ever watch that.
No.
Let me go back. One thing that you said with Avatar, and Avatar was such an amazing feat. Because my kids are, 8 years apart, and they all watched Avatar. They all loved it for different reasons, and they would all sit on the couch. They will still to this day, and my kids are a bit older now, but they will still to this day sit and watch the whole series for different reasons, and they're catching different things as they grow. That is great writing. That's how a children's show needs to be written.
I think it's actually a reflection of Japanese culture, because the Japanese really were on board with animation way before we ever were. Animation was written for the general public. When you look at something like A Spirited Away or any of the Miyazaki stuff, it wasn't written just for kids.
Yeah.
It was written for everyone. So I think that's kind of what's going on with Avatar, is they weren't like this. It was not a kid's show. It was an everyone show.
Yeah, there's no bias there, Satomi. I understand. I'm just kidding.
I have never
watched What?
I have never watched Avatar.
Oh, you should.
But yeah, and that's the thing. I have never met a single person who has not told me you need to watch it or it's amazing. Like, I have never met anyone who does not like Avatar.
I think Avatar should sit in the same geek pantheon as a Star Trek, a Star Wars. I think it is that big.
That's what I've always heard.
I think it
is that upper echelon.
Perfect.
Fully. Yeah. It is everything about it. Like, The following is strong. Even when they went to Korra, it stayed at the same level. Like sometimes when they do that follow-on chapter, that part 2 or that different story, it stayed at the same level. I think in some parts it got better because the story of Aang continues to grow. It just, and it's just like, yes. But, and just so people are clear, we're not talking about Blue People Avatar. We're talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Or an M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie. No, we're not talking about those.
There's that one.
No.
Because I heard that he's just got off.
Oh, no, that's awful. And with that, let's go to our listener feedback.
And now, let's see what all of our geek rock stars have to say.
Okay, so for this listener feedback, I asked everyone, what is your favorite children's TV show that sticks with you? And bonus points if you can tell us why. You can go back and watch it now and say, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have been watching that as a kid. Or something like that. I don't know why I said something like that. So Courtney, would you like to read our listener feedback? I know you don't want to, but you will.
He makes me, listeners. Help me.
Oh, give me a break.
Okay.
I know you missed this back and forth, Satomi.
I do.
This is the gold right here. This is the comedy gold. We do this when we're not on the air too, guys, just so you know. Yeah. This is not something we put on for the show. We really do fight like a brother and sister. Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's how we roll. And with that, I'm going to roll on over to our listener feedback. So first off, I know. First off, always going to start with the thank you, everybody, for all of your great listener feedback. We had a lot this time. So again, I'm not going to be able to read everybody. So if I don't get to you, that doesn't mean I won't get to you next time. So keep the listener feedback coming. So we're going to start with Miss Kimberly Deanna Romine. She said Rugrats and Doug. She's always loved the adventures of the Rugrats now that Doug has spoiled it all for her with the conspiracy theory.
I've been doing that the last couple episodes. Sorry.
That's awesome. And for Doug, had a lot of silly stories to tell. I loved Doug, so I'm with that. Stephen Fitzmaurice said, let's go back a bit. Battle of the Planets, or as I called it, G-Force. Loved this show. Loved that it included a large, overweight hero as well as a hero with a speech impediment. I have to admit, I've never even heard of this one, but I'm going to go
check it out.
I'm going to totally check it out now. Lauren L. Eco Cleary.
Elko.
Lauren, if I said that wrong, I'm sorry. 100% Ren and Stimpy. I used to watch a lot of cartoons on MTV late at night that were definitely not kids shows. She agrees with me. I think I liked Ren and Stimpy best for the jingles and the fun songs, but now I see why a lot of my friends were not allowed to watch it while they were growing up. Yeah.
Oh, the stories I have with Ren and Stimpy. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Scott Self, I'm going to read yours even though you didn't tell me why.
Oh, this must be pretty amazing.
That's because he's got a good list, I think.
Okay.
I think. G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers, because of the toys. Then Gargoyles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, X-Men. And he did say basically if it had if it had fighting powers and strange creatures. And that's where we will end. And thank you everybody again for all of your fabulous listener feedback. And I'm sorry I couldn't read everybody on here.
Now, actually, you know what? I want to actually talk just for a second on that last listener feedback. What are you guys' thoughts on the non-educational commercial shows that they did, like He-Man and G.I. Joe?
Thundercats,
the girl Gem, all of that.
Gem and the hologram.
Yeah, two of them are on my top 5.
So, do you think those were helpful, harmful, or just kind of fun?
They were.
I don't think they were helpful. It's like some of the ones we'll be talking about.
Do you guys remember Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, that was terrible.
Terrible. But
I was going through those. Oh, just yucky stuff.
But they also had Space Ace and Dragon's Lair.
Space Ace.
Was Dragon's Lair the one that was based on the video game?
Yes, the Dawn Bluth. The Dawn Bluth.
Okay, yeah.
Video
I was
game.
trying to remember
Hardest
the name of that
game
one. Thank you.
ever.
I have it on my phone right now. Space Ace and Dragon's Lair.
To this day, I do not understand how to play that game. It
tells you right there. It says go up. You have to go up. And if
I was in Reno. I was in Reno as a kid. We went to Circus, and there was a dude with a bucket next to the video game of Dragon's Lair. This huge stand-up thing, had a big old sign around it, blindfolded.
Oh my god!
Wow!
And people were throwing money in this bucket because this dude he beat the game every time.
I can't get past level 1 still.
And he would have the blindfold on, and he would beat it blindfolded. He had the timing memorized, and he'd just be like, boop, 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 boop,
didn't his horse have no legs in the TV show?
It had no legs in the game.
Okay.
It was like this weird robot horse.
Yeah, it was like a mechanical bull, but with a knight on it.
Great. Ththose were fun. Dawn Bluth did a great job. You have to admit that.
Yeah. So what I guess what everybody's saying is they're not helpful, but they're not harmful. They're just fun.
Yeah. No.
They're commercialized.
Imagination. We need it.
I mean, I love
their flights of fantasy.
And again, going back to when they remake stuff and they have kids that are on their phones instead of the kid drawing on their little notepad, that's where the problem is. At least with the commercials, you had the toys, and yes, it's commercialism at its worst. It's capitalism, blah blah. But at least it gave you kind of a starting point to play.
Well, the thing about stuff like that was like, I mean, today, if you think about now as opposed to then, like you were immersed in this world of fantasy and blah, blah, blah. He-Man, right? Masters of the Universe, and then they came out She-Ra and you're like, oh yeah, they had to do one for the girls.
And
I'm kidding. I wanted to just throw that in there. But I'm telling you, like, the biggest thing, like, we have to think about is what actually went on. Like, you had Transformers G1, beautiful. And then they made Transformers the movie. Great.
And they killed Optimus Prime in the first 10 minutes. They killed
Optimus Prime, and then they bring in Rodimus Prime, and you're like, what the?
I was done.
This is garbage.
Done.
Right? G.I. Joe stayed the same throughout. Great. But think about it now. So when you go to a con and you meet guys that voice these people, Frank Welker, all of these guys, like the voices of these, it brings you back to that era because you hear that voice. You hear Megatron, or you hear Optimus Prime, and you're just like, oh my God. And now it turns that whole thing around, and you're like, this is awesome.
Well, I mean, that's the same feeling every time we talk to Cal Dodd every now and again on the show, who was Wolverine on the X-Men cartoon. And in that moment, I don't see Cal, I see Wolverine. And I feel like I am talking to freaking Wolverine, because he'll throw on the voice for you because he knows what you want to talk to him.
Yeah.
Such an amazing guy. But it's just that moment that he will, and it's like they all know how to just get you there for a second. They'll just like put the voice on for a second. You're like, and suddenly you're 9 again, and everything is okay, and you're not paying bills, and you're not dealing with all the crap, and there is no social media, and you're just happy just for that second. They know how to do that.
And I think that's an important thing to consider when they're doing these reboots and remakes and whatnot. Like with Transformers, I think it was important that they were able to get the original voice actor who played Optimus Prime to be Optimus Prime, because you've got people our age who are sitting in the theater with their kids, or in my case, my nieces, and they don't understand the minute Optimus Prime speaks. It's like what Skeet said. You're like, okay, well now I'm the 7-year-old, like my niece, because I'm now watching. That's my Optimus Prime. And I think it makes it a little bit easier for people to digest a reboot or a remake if you do something like that, where you pay a little homage to the original kind. It's like, I know not everybody liked Wonder Woman 84, but to have that cameo.
Who didn't?
By Linda Carter at the end kind of really helped.
It made the movie better.
It merged the two generations of viewers. And I think that's an important thing. And I think a lot of the reboots don't really think about that. Like
now, and I'll give you the exception just because we were talking about that a second ago. Wolverine, I mean, Cal hasn't played anything since the animated series, but every single Wolverine since then has been copying his performance. You know, I mean,
it's the same thing with
they've
your
added
Harley
to their
Quinn.
own, but you can definitely hear Cal in all of those.
It's the same thing with your Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
They all are copying
Sorkin.
Arlene Sorkin. I was trying to remember her last name.
Yeah.
They all copy in a way. They all copy Arlene Sorkin.
And the ones that don't are the ones that are the worst.
They don't succeed. They don't come back as voice actors. Even Margot Robbie, to a certain extent, in the live action, she copies Arlene Sorkin.
Yeah, like not Cuoco, the other one, Bernadette from Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I can't remember what
she did. She did one of the Harleys, and she didn't sound like her, and that way you couldn't get into the movie because there was no homage to it. And very talented people.
Because that's who the character is.
Yeah, that's who we get from that. Like when there's a change in anything in any of the shows that you really like, you know, I mean, think about Roseanne. Like I know we're not talking about that stuff, but when there's a change in character, you're like, what? Why? This isn't this.
That's second Becky.
That's second Becky. What? You know, but we think about those things. But really, like, what was the draw? Like, we wanted it to be the same.
Yeah.
You know, when they started, when I like to think of it as the cartoons, as we kind of started growing and things started changing, they became Toys R Us cartoons.
True.
What could they put on the shelf and market to the new audience?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it would be on the shelf like Gem and the Holograms. No, you're not going to get an 80s rock star Barbie. Make Barbie an 80s rock star and you'll sell 1 million of them.
They did.
Make Gem and the Hologram.
He did. Her name was Rock and Roll Barbie.
It was Rock and Roll Barbie.
And he had 4 of them.
They sold 1 billion Rock and Roll Barbies.
3.
And 2 Gem and the Holograms. You know, that's what I look at it as.
I don't think you're right on that. Gem and the Hologram dolls over there that I've kept.
Yeah, I don't think you're right on that because they did make their own lore with it.
Right there. But I'm kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
no. Okay. Well, I kept them for the nieces now.
I have to steer us out. We're jumping over to our main event.
Now it's time for the main event.
So for this version of the main event, we asked what are our favorite TV kid shows of any era. I think we all came up with very unique lists on this, and I'm kind of happy with. And before we start, I know we're probably going to go over our allotted time. So thanks for sticking in, guys, and subscribe and share and yes, all that stuff. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all for hanging in. Okay, my number 5 was a show. Most people don't remember. It was called Don't Just Sit There. It was Arsenio Hall for kids. It lasted like 1 year on Nickelodeon. They had the slime and the water and all that because that was,
Nickelodeon.
That was Nickelodeon at the time. But honestly, I mean, they handled the tween kid issues so well. I remember they had an episode that they talked about how to rip jeans, and then they had an episode on what a hickey is. Are they medically dangerous and all that? And it was, and they made it funny, and it was, you just felt like you were hanging out with your friends, and they did such a good job of that. So that's not necessarily kids, but this is tween, so this is kind of where the top of my ceiling went. But yeah, that was a show that you can't find anywhere anymore, but if you can find it, let me know because I really love those episodes. I think it lasted for 1 or 2 seasons. Friedel was on that. Will Friedel, who was later the voice of Batman, and the older brother from Boy Meets World, if you wanted to know. Courtney, what is your number 5?
The Wonderful World of Disney. It was on
1967's
ABC.
Friday. Yeah, it was on ABC's like either Friday or no, it was Sunday nights. Sunday nights. And it was always some cheesy B
Western,
movie created by Disney, or it'd be things like
Tinkerbell shows up,
or the Shaggy DA, or the Absent-Minded Professor. It was like the precursor to the Disney Channel.
Yes,
is what it was. And you'd see things like they had one that was called Rock and Roll Mom. It was about one with 2 kids who ended up being a rock and roll star, and I love that one. You can watch it on YouTube, but I didn't tell you that. And things like The Parent Trap 2 and The Parent Trap 3. I mean, those kind of fun.
Yeah.
Cheeseball. And it was always, and they, even though Walt was dead, they had Walt introducing things.
Oh, I remember that. I love that.
The
Hitchcock moments almost on that.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's seen Iron Man. The part where he's watching his dad. It was the same thing. It was literally taken from stuff that they used to do on The Wonderful World of Disney with Walt Disney.
Yeah. The cool thing about that was when I was little, when we lived in Anaheim, we would walk out, like Wonderful World of Disney would get over, and we lived in the middle of Anaheim between Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. So I could go sit on the hood of the car after The Wonderful World of Disney, watch the fireworks from Disneyland, and then run to the back of the car after the fireworks from Disneyland and watch Knott's Berry Farm's fireworks.
Who had the better fireworks, by the way?
Oh, all day long.
Just Disney. FYI. One correction.
Speaking of fireworks,
or
that's
question.
How they always ended The Wonderful World of Disney was Tink always flying over.
And if you don't know, it's called the Goodnight Kiss.
Is there a difference between Wonderful World of Disney and Wonderful World of Color? Because I remember
2 different things.
I thought it was the same thing. That's why I just wanted to ask that real quick.
Yeah,
I think they got merged into one, but they were different.
Wonderful World of Color became Wonderful World of Disney.
Okay, that's what I was curious. So, Tommy, what is your number 5?
My number 5 was actually named after a misremembered lyric from Strangers in the Night. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Yep. So Scooby-Doo, for sure.
Where are you?
Well, talk about adult humor inside of a cartoon.
Right.
They meant Kiss and Albert Abbott and Costello.
Not until you're a teenager and you figure out why Shaggy always has the munchies.
Right.
And what is a Scooby snack?
There was always a haze coming out of that van.
Now, is this something that we've assigned?
You're 7, you're like, Mom, why is he always hungry?
Is this something we've assigned, or is this something that's real?
Technically, at least what they have said is it's something that we've assigned. Casey Kasem actually voiced
the voice.
Shaggy Kasem.
He voiced Shaggy, and he was definitely, for those of you who don't remember, host of American Top 40. This is like, this is back when that whole Top 40
Seacrest.
Yes, pre-Seacrest.
Probably the most famous person in America at the time, honestly.
Yeah, probably. And actually, Casey Kasem left the show at one point because he was vegan and he wanted Shaggy to reflect his vegan values. And the company wanted Shaggy to do a Burger King commercial. And Kasem was like, no, I quit.
I think Shaggy definitely had some plants.
Yes, he did. And actually, Shaggy eventually became vegetarian. He did.
I didn't know that, actually. I could see that, though.
That's cool.
It is kind of cool.
Nice. Okay, Skeeter, what is your number 5, sir?
Well, my number 5 is 3-2-1 Contact.
Oh, so good. Todd learned about centrifugal force on that show. I remember that very specifically.
The Bloodhound Gang.
I love the
not only the band's name came from that, but the Bloodhound Gang was awesome. Like the math, they were like the math CSI, or the science CSI. They did all that stuff, but that show pretty much, my whole list could be PBS, but like 3-2-1 Contact was so much fun because it followed the electric company. So you just got sucked in by the electric company, and then you were just like, I'm not going anywhere for the next hour because I got that followed by 3, 2, 1 Contact. Loved it. Everything about it was so much fun.
Yeah. Then they added later on. They added Square One.
Square One.
And I love that every one of these shows had their own, were their own subject. Some were math, some were science because like 3, 2, 1 Contact. Some were English with reading. But we'll get into these as we go.
And then like Via Alegre, that was Spanish.
Why do I get so excited about this?
Bilingual stuff.
Nice.
Okay. We loved it.
My number 4 is the granddaddy of them all, probably the most important kids TV show, and the reason why my kid decided to sit and read every Harry Potter book in one summer because he wanted to, and that's Sesame Street. That was.
Can you tell me
that taught everybody in the world how to read? That show, and it taught you friendship, how to deal with yourself.
Yep.
You know, and there was no heavy-handed. There was a moral play, but it was nothing that is not 100% everybody's morals, and it was so perfect.
It
how to
taught us
stick to it.
Yeah, and it taught us that being different wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah. We don't talk about that one anymore.
No, I think one of the best things was the Oscar the Grouch trying to sell ice cream out of the trash can, and he wanted to sell spaghetti and meatballs ice cream, and nobody would buy it, but he was sticking to his guns and was going to sell spaghetti and meatballs ice cream. He was not going to sway from that. And finally ended up at the end like selling spaghetti and meatballs ice cream. Like he did it for one person, and like that just shows you stick to it. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on what you want. Yeah, just awesome,
nice.
And then the sad part.
Yeah, we're not going to get into those.
Yeah, no.
So tell me, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater.
That's what that was.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, there's a massive cheese factor when you go back to visit it.
It had everybody in it too.
But it had everybody. You guys, I mean, Robin Williams, Terry Garr. There was an episode with James Earl Jones and Leonard Nimoy. So Darth Vader and Spock were in the same episode. Directors.
I gotta watch this.
Mick Jagger was in it. I mean, everybody was in it. And it sort of they embraced the cheese. It's cheesy, but they really embraced it. And I still have like pictures in my mind that I bought the DVDs for the girls.
For the girls.
I want to borrow them because you can't stream them. You can't find
them
for
the girls.
So I'm gonna have to borrow them because it's just and like directors, A-list. Everybody who was in the dang thing was A-list. I
think Tim Burton directed an episode. I think one of the first things he did was direct an episode of Fairy Tale Theater.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. Courtney, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is Voltron.
Yes.
You will not convince me that Power Rangers wasn't a knockoff of.
Oh, it was. But there was no pink Power Ranger on.
Yeah.
Voltron. 7 mini lion bots become one giant lion. What?
Super lion bot? That's essentially what it is. It's this far off, this cartoon far off planet. It's Japanese, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. It was Transformers meets anime.
Yeah, it was Japanese, and it was 5.
It wasn't Bandai, was it?
5.
No, it was before Bandai.
Okay.
I don't. 5. 5-member team.
Yeah, 5. The centerpiece
would be in little lions, robotic lions, to fight the bad guys, and then when they had to fight the really serious bad guys, it would join together to make Voltron.
Because team up makes the dream work.
Are you talking cartoon Voltron, or are you talking the live action?
Cartoon.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was going to say that got a little crazy.
Yeah. No, cartoon Voltron. And when I saw the Power Rangers for the first time, I'm like, that's just Voltron.
Yeah.
It is.
Exactly.
But I loved it when I was a kid.
That's okay.
Okay. So for my number 3, I'm doing DuckTales. The original DuckTales, not the new one. The new one, it's okay. It's got its own charm, but there's something about the animation with the 3 identical, the Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
They
were all interchangeable characters, let's be honest. They didn't have their own personalities, But I remember I loved that show, and I loved they had a comic book that I absolutely loved with Ducktales, and it was Disney without being Disneyfied, if that makes sense. It was ducks, but it didn't feel like it. And they had some really deep lyrics, or deep lyrics, deep
lyrics,
storylines. And
because Ducktales, that's pretty deep. It's pretty deep.
It's so deep that I guarantee every person that is listening to this went
just sang along with us.
Yes, just fantastic show all the way around. Good second one, but let's go with Skeeter. What is your number 3?
My number 3 was Mickey Mouse Club.
Which one?
New Mickey Mouse Club. You had to watch old Mickey Mouse Club on late night Disney Channel. You couldn't really get it, but the new Mickey Mouse Club was a lot of fun. It was upbeat, it was up to date, and it was not Kids Incorporated.
Yeah.
Right. So these kids actually had real good talent.
Look how many people came out of it.
The years that I was watching it, not to mention that I had a gigantic crush on, there was a girl on there named Brandy. She was holy moly. She was this country girl from the South that was wow.
This is how he watches reality shows too.
They had an open call down in San Diego in the summer that I was down in San Marcos, and they had an open call for the Mickey Mouse Club. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this open call. I tried to go to a bunch of cattle calls. I went to one for Saved by the Bell. I went to one for Mickey Mouse Club, and just didn't have that Justin Timberlake look, I guess. I don't know. But
you were a big kid too, though.
Before then I wasn't that big, but
I know you were big for our age. Yeah. You were bigger.
So I didn't get that thing, but it was awesome. It was awesome. Loved Mickey Mouse Club.
So tell me, what's your number 3?
Amazing Stories.
Oh,
essentially Twilight Zone for kids. It was awesome.
Can I piggyback on this for a second? On kind of a show that's like that was Erie, Indiana, which was kind of the same thing, only it was just the same kid following through. But yeah, no, that Twilight Zone for kids was so. Yes.
I'm still haunted by. There was an episode called Thanksgiving where there was a hole on a farm, and there was this abusive uncle, father figure kind of guy, and they found out that there was something living down there, and they would send things down, and when they pull up the bucket, it would send up treasure and gold, and it would have a note like, we've identified this as corn, this is delicious. And so the bad father figure finally wants to go down there and find out what's down there and get all the gold. And so he suits up and goes down on the bucket, and then he comes back up, and then all of a sudden the suit opens up and just pours out treasure with a little note saying, we've identified this item as turkey, delicious. And it was just so creepy. Nice. And it haunts me.
The Rudy episode on the airplane, when he was the illustrator and the wheels wouldn't come down.
Oh my gosh.
Drew the freaking wheels, and it landed on the big cartoon wheels.
Yes. Genius.
No, I say I think there's a hole in society. I mean, they did it with Goosebumps too, but it's been way too long since we've had a kids Twilight Zone.
Yes.
You can still stream that too. I can't remember where we saw it, but you can stream Amazing Stories. I saw
there was some talk about they will be bringing it back.
God, please.
Oh, man.
And Spielberg
if Spielberg's doing, I'm in.
I'm in.
He plans on being involved.
I mean,
I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition because this was before the pandemic. But yeah, there was rumors of bringing back Amazing Stories for one of the streaming services, and Spielberg was on board. But
nice.
I don't know.
Courtney, what's your number 3?
Gem and the Holograms, no matter what Peter says.
Ooh, are you guys gonna fight? Fight.
Okay.
Okay,
I loved it.
No, I was completely out of that demographic, so I think I maybe watched one episode and it didn't do it for me because it wasn't marketed to me as a kid.
That was marketed to me.
What was it that was so appealing about that show?
It was the music. And I mean, it was the mystery of the fun. It's like, the thing is, because, she was this normal girl who, with her magic earrings and her assistance from the hologram robot that her father built, could change her appearance and become a different person. And I mean, the other thing is, she was always nervous when she was Jericho. She was always nervous to sing in front of people. But when she put on the Gem persona, she had no problem doing it.
So it was Miley Cyrus before Miley Cyrus. Gotcha.
Right. It's literally Hannah Montana is just Gem and the holograms. They just stole that idea. And then, you had the fun stuff. You had the Misfits, who were her nemesis band, and they were kind of like the punk girls.
So it was Josie and the Pussycats for the 80s?
Yeah, I think if you updated it, that's a good way of looking at it. I could never figure out why her boyfriend couldn't figure out the difference between the two of them, because literally all Jerica did was just get pink hair.
Which means, he wasn't looking at her face. Anyway, sorry, yeah.
I mean, it's just like, he had no idea.
Oh, I just became the enemy of the state. Okay.
No.
I believe we are now on number 2. And number 2, I'm going to go through this one real quick because I mentioned it. And it holds such a special place because I learned how to read earlier, and it gave me my love of books, even more than Reading Rainbow, and that's Electric Company. And I love Reading Rainbow, don't get me wrong, but Electric Company was the foundation for everything that I am today.
Morgan Freeman.
Well, it's not even the Morgan Freeman thing, because I don't remember seeing him at all, but I know you look back and you can find him in there. But like, they had the two faces. What? There, and it was the repetition, and I remember it was on at 9 a.m, and then it was on again at 4:30, and it was the same episode. And I'd watch it in the morning, and then we go to my grandmother's house, and then I would try to show off because my cousin was there, AJ, and I'd read it because I had practiced, because I'd went through the whole show. And I remember that, and it was just, it's such an important show to me. I say, I don't know if it's as good as I remember, but I remember this is a huge part of my life and who I am because of that show. So if anybody that created Electric Company is listening or might listen, thank you. I owe you most of my life, honestly. Skeeter, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Gotta Love Him, Mark Summers and Double Dare.
I remember a time that me and you were training to go on it.
We were going to go on Double Dare. We were going to win those Magna mountain bikes.
Yep.
We were going to beat this thing.
Get the VCR.
Dude, yes. We were going to end up in Florida.
We do push-ups and sit-ups. This lasted like a week, I think.
And watch it. We were like, we're going to go on this show. We're going to smoke it.
Because I was really good at trivia at the time too, so I was like, between that, you can do the physical challenges, and I'll do the the trivia, and we're gonna win it.
Yeah, that dude, Double Dare was so much fun. To watch it and be like, dude, those people are dumb. Like, I knew that answer. I could be on this show. Like, that's
how that works, huh?
Yeah.
Shows for kids.
Yep.
So tell me, what is your number 2?
It's beautiful day in the neighborhood. I could keep going, but we'd get sued. But Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
I mean, America's dad, uncle, brother, the most delicious human being on the planet. His mother knitted his sweaters that he wore. He was red-green colorblind.
Fantastic musician.
He was a fantastic musician. He actually studied composition. Most of those songs were written by him and then arranged by his music director. Was it Johnny Costa?
It's you.
I highly recommend checking out the documentary on that, by the way.
Dude.
Not the Tom Hanks.
Not the Tom Hanks.
Garbage.
That was actual documentary.
Won't You Be My Neighbor? So good.
Buy a case of tissue because you're going to need it.
Oh, God.
Now, one story that I want to tell, because I know we can't sit on Mr. Rogers all day. I guess we could, but I could just hug him forever.
Show idea.
Something that I think is very interesting that like I think starting in the 80s, every time that he'd feed the fish, he'd say, "Oh, and I'm going to drop a few flakes in here for the fish," because there was a blind kid that was watching that his mom sent in a letter that he heard about the fish, but he didn't know that he ever fed the fish. So he made a point for the rest of the series. Every single time he'd say that he's dropping something in for the fish. Oh. How perfect of a human being is that?
Yeah. Dude, it's like to know that, like, if you have not seen the actual documentary, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but when you hear the portion about Daniel Tiger,
oh no,
it's like you're done.
He'll be destroyed.
Done. And I watch it over and over again when I just need that moment of, this is why I love that man. And like,
but I still think the puppets were creepy looking.
They were paper mache puppets. It was the real deal. Like, I loved it.
That one,
Lady Elaine Fairchild.
Yes, scared the crap out of me. That was literally disturbing. Yeah. Oh, anyway. Courtney, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Fairy Tale Theater, like Satomi. So
nice. Okay. So on to the number 1s. Since we are going over, we're not doing our honorable mentions, but this hurts to do. Okay, so my number 1 is going to be a Canadian show that was the start of one Alanis Morissette. You can't do that on television. That was Saturday Night Live for kids. Yeah. That was such an amazing show. So gross and so brilliantly written. And the way that they kept those kids, they were not allowed to have tutors. They had to go to school. They had to have normal lives.
Thank you, Canada.
They were adamant about that because we're like, no, we don't want a bunch of stars. We want kids.
Right.
Such a great show. And I mean, everything that at that age, like, yeah, my parents are stupid. And they gave us that. You know, they didn't try to teach you any lessons, but it was important. And I just loved that show to death. Skeeter, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is probably something that sticks with me today, and I hope they bring him back because I've heard that there's talking, but Reading Rainbow, LeVar Burton.
Only LeVar. I don't want anybody else.
Only LeVar. There's no one else that can do that show. Anytime you see him, no matter
maybe if Jim Parsons.
If it's Geordie, but Jim could pull it off.
But not as good. He'd be
not as good. The voice of LeVar Burton
is comforting.
The way he read was
exciting.
It felt like you were watching a cartoon while the pages turned of this book, and he became the words and on the pages and the illustrations and stuff. And to this day, like, I can watch an old episode of Reading Rainbow and just be immersed. And even though it's a kid's book or whatever, I'm just like,
controversial statement. I think that was the best intro music in all of kids shows.
All of kids shows.
It's running through my head right now. I can't shut it off.
Yeah, no.
And I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I was walking through the house when I made my top 5 yesterday, and I was just singing it like because I've been getting my voice back. So like, because I've been singing a lot lately, and I was walking through the house yesterday, and just like, my wife was like, "Whoa, you actually do sing."
I put that up there honestly with the Neverending Story. That is where I put that in the pantheon.
It is on a plateau for me.
Just amazing.
It would always be.
So, Tommy, what's your number 1?
It is time to get things started on the Muppet Show tonight.
With Alice Cooper, yes!
Oh, I mean, when you want to talk about one of the reasons that I work in musical theater or in theater in general, the Muppet Show, it was because it was a variety show. It was a live show.
Hilarious, subversive.
It hysterical. It had contemporary celebrities on. It had wacky characters. They were not afraid to have touching moments.
Mm-hmm.
they had the backstage moments where you were seeing what was going on backstage and the stuff that was going on the shows. You had the hecklers. It was a whole world in this show. And I will still, if I catch it, if somehow it comes on, or if I see an episode go by somewhere where you can stream it, I am right there watching. And it holds up. It absolutely holds up.
Can I ask your opinion on something? Why has none of the Rebirth boots ever worked?
Because it's not
Jim.
It's not Jim. It's not. They're very good. That's my opinion. I'm sorry to jump in on this one, but my opinion, there's it will never ever be the same. The voices, those things that hit you right here are no longer there.
But they've done a good job with the movies. Even I think that last one was pretty good, but I don't think the show. It's just it feels like it's such a high bar that they set. The cameos, oh my gosh.
It's, you know what, I think part of it too is because of where we've come as a culture, and here I am, I'm going to get serious on you again. We are so obsessed with knowing everything, being so knowing. And Jim Henson understood that there is a magic to just something that's pure.
Yeah.
And even the snarky jokes, there was a purity to it. There wasn't this, we're so obsessed with this loss of innocence. And it's something that I think just Jim Henson just embodied in his work. There's like that sincerity. That's good. He was a magician, and you don't ever want to know the tricks. Exactly. And now that we have to know the tricks, how they happened, instead of just believing them. Yeah, there's something to that.
It's just like going to Disneyland. I will tell you, going to Disneyland, going to California Adventure, one of my favorite things about going there was the Muppets piece, when you'd walk into the Muppet Theater and you'd have the whole Muppet Show and the different things going on, and it was just cool. And it was still Muppets. Like, you felt the Jim Henson piece of the Muppets. You had the hecklers, the whole bit, and it just felt good.
Statler and Waldorf. Yes.
Yeah. Waldorf and Statler.
What is your number one, Courtney?
It's Reading Rainbow. And we've talked about it enough that everything. The only thing I'll add to it is that because of Reading Rainbow, because of LeVar Burton, that is why I'm a writer, and I'm a massive reader.
Yeah.
My love of books and reading and the written word really came from LeVar Burton and Reading Rainbow. And Skeeter, they did reboot it.
Ooh. I guess we haven't watched it.
He did it. It was him. No, it's not.
Oh, he did?
No. He did it as a Kickstarter several years ago.
Oh, okay.
They created new episodes, and they are solely for classrooms.
I can respect that.
Wow.
I can respect that.
Yeah, it was created solely for classrooms.
How cool.
And he created a whole thing called something along the lines of like Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, where they give books away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all Reading Rainbow books, and it's all part of this Kickstarter that he did.
That's awesome. And
because he owns the rights to Reading Rainbow.
I love that these are good. These people are good people that we've always loved growing up.
Can we just do one honorable mention?
We are like literally 20 minutes over. Go ahead, fast you can.
One honorable mention: new zoo review. Done.
New zoo review coming at you. Sorry.
Okay, Kids Incorporated.
I'm making that one.
If you have one more, anybody? Quick.
Nope.
The Bugaloos.
Okay, and that's a show, kids. Go to our. Please subscribe and give us the thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. Go to our Facebook and talk to us. We talk back. Go to our Patreon. Tons of new content coming out. Go to the store, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use Con. We paid extra for it. And until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here with Courtney. I'm here with Satomi. I'm here with Skeeter. Keep on geeking on. We love y'all, and be good to each other.
What a show.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the I Heart Geek Show. make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.